Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury Editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. In this episode, I bring you all the news from the past week in the world of G.I. Joe. So what is it, me? It's the Full Force Weekly. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. I say everyone, there's only about 11 people watching at the moment. Hello, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you're having a nice Saturday. Hope you've had a nice Friday, and I hope you're going to have a nice Sunday as well tomorrow. So, yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys are up to and what you're doing. I still haven't trimmed my beard. Still need to. Every time I go live, I'm like, oh yeah, I keep needing to actually shave this monstrosity off my face. How is everyone doing? All good? Brilliant. A bit of news to talk about. Oh, big shout out first of all to Codename Iowa and Assembly Required, which is happening as we speak, of course. Already kicked off yesterday. A few of you may even be watching, may actually be there. So yeah, I hope everyone's having a great time. It looked like a lot of fun so far, and some cool stuff coming out of it, which we'll talk about obviously a little bit later on. But I just wanted to give a big shout out to Brian Sauer and the team at Codename Iowa for putting on the most amazing show in Assembly Required. Very, very gutted I couldn't be there this year. It's definitely one of my favorite cons for sure. But anyway, big shout out to them. Chat's already kicking off. Hello, Mark says, yo, Chris, driving home from Thought Bubble Comic Con with my brother Peter Pumpkinhead. Hello, Peter and Mark. How you guys doing? Hope you had a great con as well. Yeah, Thought Bubble, yes. And in fact, it's funny because I think every time it's around about the same time, isn't it, as AR, pretty much every year. Because I'm pretty sure you are usually driving back, watching this episode, this is not the first time you've been on the way home from Thought Bubble, so hope you had a good time, guys. Mr. Person Guy says full force right back at you. Taking it easy this weekend, waiting on my Skeletron 6-inch figures, says Ed. Yes, they're on the way, aren't they? Very excited. That's spoiler alert for the shout-outs. White says jealous of those at Assembly Required. Yeah, me too. I'm getting a lot of FOMO at the moment. And just under saying, I'm kind of freaking out. I just found out I haven't got an email confirming my cancelled orders for like over a year. What cancelled orders? And why would you have an email confirming cancelled orders? Did you cancel orders and then don't realize you didn't actually get any confirmation they were cancelled? Interesting. That sucks. But yeah, maybe reach out again. Anyway, that is that. For the banter. Let's get into the news. We've got a few things to chat about. Of course, we'll start in Comics Land. Yes, it's all about the Energon universe and the Dreadnought War. Again, kind of right in the middle of the Dreadnought War as we speak. First issue we've already had. Talked about that in a lot of detail previously. And of course, now we've got a preview for the issue 14, which is the part 2 of, is that right? Part 2? Yeah, I think it's part 2 of the Dreadnought War. So basically, Duke has followed a signal to a certain kind of desolate part of the globe of the US in the middle of the desert. And that signal obviously is an Energon source. Now that signal was also being monitored by Cobra, and Cobra Commander specifically wanted to go on his own to go check out that signal source. But it turns out that it was all a bit of a ploy by old Destro and Ripper. Ripper, of course, kind of being a little bit manipulated by Destro in the background, in the wings, shall we say, sort of kind of getting him a little bit like riled up in a way to sort of like push the narrative of, well, maybe you need to, kind of get back at Cobra Commander a little bit. And here's a good way to do so. I just noticed something. We are live and everyone's aware of that, right? Just quite a few, not as many people watching as usual. Maybe everyone's at Codename Iowa, and that's why. I was wondering if there's been like a technical glitch or something, but let me know if there are any issues that you guys can see. Anyway, coming back to the comic. So, like I said, Duke is kind of like has found this source as well. They've all kind of come to the same point, and just as Duke was looking on his binoculars, he sees Cobra Commander and a bunch of troopers and Ripper digging up where this source of energon is going to be. And it turns out it was all a ploy. Ripper turns the tide. He's got some sort of jamming frequency signal going on as well, so no one can communicate outside of this kind of, wherever they are in this kind of area. And the Dreadnoks have just shown up. So Duke kind of jumps in to almost weirdly enough save Cobra Commander, which I thought was a weird move. It's just like, let them deal with it. Let them take Cobra Commander out and then go in and, or just disappear, because obviously you don't want to be caught up in that. But the fact that he kind of saves the day a little bit for Cobra Commander, and I guess he just wants him to, see justice, or maybe he wants to be the one to exact revenge. Who knows at this point? Maybe some of that will be sort of revealed, but that did seem to be a little bit of an odd sort of premise, when you could think, if you just think about it for 2 seconds, if Cobra Commander's taken out, that really does level the playing field a little bit. In any case, he saves him, locks him up, handcuffs him to himself, and they escape as the Dreadnoks turn up. So the preview for 14 is the sort of next phases, the next stage, the next step, what's going to be happening. They're on the run, they're being chased by the Dreadnoks. The cover suggests that they're going to break down and they're going to be on foot, which is going to make it even more difficult to do stuff. What is interesting, though, is the hand that Duke is handcuffed to Cobra Commander with is not the same one on the cover as it is in the actual panels, which I find quite interesting. So yeah, they obviously were told, or maybe weren't given all of the details for the storyline. The cover artists in this particular sense, I think it's Tom Riley did that one, but we'll have a look at the covers in a second as well. And we see basically Cobra Commander and Duke sort of clashing as they're trying to escape as well, but working together. And here are the Dreadnoks, and we effectively see Duke undoing his handcuffs. So maybe I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. The fact that he basically unlocks the handcuffs at this stage means that he could change his hand when it comes to the phase of the car breaking down and them having to be on foot. But yeah, they've caught right up to them in this kind of red Jeep, in Duke's Jeep, and it doesn't look good, does it? What I do quite like is that I must be a guy on a motorcycle holding the wrench, because could you imagine if just some random guy standing in the middle of the desert with the wrench and they just caught his hand in the picture as they were taking it? But no, this is kind of basically the follow-up to last issue, and we will see more of Cobra Commander and Duke either getting buddy or the opposite, kind of finding out more about each other and all of that. So this is where I feel like we're going to get a lot of sort of kind of backstory for both of them, bit of exposition here and there kind of going forward, and sort of I'm interested to see where it goes. But like I said, I feel like Duke could have just negated any of this by just letting Ripper take Cobra Commander out. Either way, Sean Forrester says, just got back from Codename Iowa, great show. I'm very jealous, Sean. Hi Venom, can't wait for Cobra Commander to rock the hooded look in the Energon universe. Yeah, that probably will happen at some point, I'd imagine. Scott says, hero's gonna hero. True. And where's the dude with the flamethrower guitar? Indeed, it's very Mad Max, isn't it? There's a lot of, Dreadnoks has always had that sort of Mad Max inspiration. So the fact they're kind of leaning into that in the Skybound comics is no surprise whatsoever. And setting it up in the middle of nowhere, where they're probably going to bump into Burning Man or something at this point. But yeah, there you go. So that is the preview for 14. We didn't get a lot of pages, little sneak peek, and then of course we'll get more going forward. Do you know what's annoying? I usually, as soon as I get the opportunity, or I drop everything and read the next issue, A Real American Hero I haven't read yet, and I'm desperate to, so I will be jumping on it after this. I've just had zero time since it came out on Wednesday. Anyway, these are the covers. We've got Tom Riley, as I said, cover A, and it could be that Duke handcuffs himself to Cobra Commander after they get out of the vehicle later on in the story. And if that is the case, then I take it all back. And then, of course, cover B by Eric Canete, or with the dreadnoughts sort of like from a shot from above, the dreadnoughts, and I think it's a vehicle in the background. Is it the Thunder Machine? Yes, it is. I believe it is some sort of vehicle, isn't it? I can't tell. I genuinely have zoomed out, so I can't see it from where I'm sitting because I'm getting old now. Let me have a quick look at that particular cover close up because I can't believe I can't actually tell what that is. Yeah, it's the Thunder Machine. Anyway, so lovely shot, lovely cover there by Eric Canete. Always does really beautiful covers, and that is no exception at all. And then, of course, we have the connecting Ben Oliver covers. This is cover C, which is Torch this time. So he's doing all of those kind of like headshots basically, and they are pretty amazing. Lots of character, lots of personality, very kind of photorealistic, but also not. When you really look at it, it's not photorealistic, but there's a lot of detail and a lot of like just very, very like impressive artwork on each of the faces. And then, of course, we've got one of my favorites actually on the explosion backgrounds by Jesus Marino and Adriano Lucas, and that's Xandar, kind of OG classic Xandar with the red tattoos and the really bright blue and yellow kind of deco with the pink scarf. And again, I kind of love the sort of like vintage version of Xandar on there, and it makes me sort of pine, even though that Xandar figure, by the way, that Xandar classified figure is amazing. I love it. Proper underrated figure. I think a retro card back Xandar would go down an absolute treat with a much brighter deco, a different secondary, and the red tattoos. Just go proper vintage. I know he's got the tattoos under the secondary on the classified version, but I think it would be really cool to get a proper vintage. Really crank up the deco on that as well. That would be really sweet. Anyway, and then, of course, the final cover that they revealed for 14, or showing off for the Dreadnought War Part 2, is 2, isn't it? Yeah. Is cover E by Carmine Di Giandomenico. Easy for me to say. Giandomenico, I believe it is. Carmine Di Giandomenico. Sorry about that. And this is a beauty as well. Very kind of stylized, kind of like in terms of the artwork. Duke and Cobra Commander. Duke looks a little younger on this, I will say, but certainly that more kind of stylized artwork. But it's really cool, really dynamic, and like the Jeep kind of like in motion, two ridiculous motorcycles flying past them either side, all guns blazing and explosions and all sorts. It's a really nice cover, this one, and another beauty. Bryce says, Chris, you of all people haven't read the new issue of our American Hero yet, and I know what you're getting at. Stygian says, I'm not repeating that actually, but it's really funny. Why not? G.I. Joe 14 before the Epstein files and GTA 6. Yes, Stygian. Indeed. We do need a Thunder Machine ASAP, Venom. I agree with you. Sean says, my only complaint about the Energon universe is how long the wait is for the hardcovers. I'm trying not to double dip. Not sure I can wait that long. Yeah, we're only at trade paperback 2, aren't we? I want to say, Sean, for the G.I. Joe anyway. But like, obviously, all of the previous miniseries have had hardcovers. But yeah, we're only at like, I want to say trade paperback 2 for the Energon universe. So there's a ways to wait, unfortunately, for those, aren't there? White says, because Hasbro owns Tonka, I would have liked a reference to the Steel Monster toys in these books. Yeah, for sure. Justin says, what I think is happening is that without the email confirming the cancellation that the hold is still on my card, I just sent all the orders to Hasbro of all the orders they didn't confirm cancel. Oh, Hasbro orders. Okay. Well, good luck with that. I hope that works out for you. Yeah, anyway, so that's 14. Now, they did a cover showcase for issue 16, so we're going a couple of issues ahead, and already Duke and Cobra Commander are basically showing off their torsos at this point now. But I mean, they've been in the desert for like a day, and already it looks like they've been there for about 7 months, doesn't it? And some sort of dune buggy as well, or whatever that is. I don't think it's the Jeep it's something completely different. That but they've gone proper feral and have, interesting to know what kind of time has elapsed in this particular shot. But then again, they may be just, the heat's too much, although you want to stay kind of covered up in the desert, really. In fact, you want to do as little movement during the day. If you're in the survival situation, do as little movement during the day as possible and do most of it at night, is the usual kind of maneuver, isn't it? Anyway, the Tom Riley cover, another banger, and a sexier one to show off some of those sexy bods. And then we have the Tonchi Zonjic. Tonchi Zonjic, I've probably said that completely wrong, my apologies, with a beautiful cover B of Hound and Clutch. Hound is transformed and holding a Jeep, and Clutch is inside his grundle area, effectively, either working on him, fixing him, or just being a pervert. I don't know. But I do like that cover nonetheless. I think it's kind of fun. I do like it, and you may have a different opinion on this, but I do like it when the cover exceeds the logo to the point where it covers most of the logo and sort of focuses on the artwork with all the logo stuff sort of behind it. I kind of like that a little bit. Mark says, you'll have to wait for the hardcover. G.I. Joe Deluxe Edition Book 1 is out June 2026, collects G.I. Joe 1 to 12. Thank you, Mark. X Factors. Hey, Chris, checking in from a bus while traveling with the team somewhere in Montana in what feels like the middle of nowhere, full force. Well, don't get into a dreadnought war is what I'll say to you on that one, X Factors. These comic covers look amazing, says Just Under Anderson. They do. These comic covers look amazing. Yes, I just said that. Why did I say it again? Thunder Machine should play Cold Slither from Car Speakers, I keep saying. I know you do, Couch Boy, every single time. They're about to break into a slow-mo beach volleyball montage, says Blitz. It does look a bit Top Gun and homoerotic. Lightfoot says, love this cover. So do I. Scott says, Hound having a Yorick moment with the Jeep. Yeah, alas, poor Yorick. I transformed him once. And then continuing with the 16 cover showcase, we have Ben Oliver again. And again, since I've said I like the covers that block out most of the logo, they all seem to do that now, don't they? So the Ben Oliver one of Buzzer, again, another full of personality and all sorts of stuff going on in that face. Do you know what it reminds? This particular Ben Oliver issue cover reminds me of a Preacher cover. It's just got that kind of vibe that, like, Buzzer has got that sort of vibe, hasn't he? I don't want to do any spoilers if you've never read Preacher. Which, I mean, it's how many years old is that now? Doesn't matter. Don't say. But it kind of reminds me of his Preacher's kind of, buddy in that. I won't say anymore. And then, of course, we have cover D, but again, Jesus Marino and Adriano Lucas doing the explosion backgrounds. And this time it's the updated version of Ripper with his kind of jaws of death. Talking Joe, Mark says, Buzzer looks a bit like Christopher Lloyd to me. Has it? Yeah, he does a little bit. Tac says, we need some battle damage Joes and Cobra in classified, like Duke and Cobra Commander on the cover there. Yeah, so the only thing we've really got with that is the Battle Android Troopers, isn't it? They're the only ones that really have that sort of battle damage going on. I can't think of any others, but yeah, you could definitely get away with it with some helmets, couldn't you? Like any kind of alternate helmets you could do some damage with. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think you sort of have to have almost like a reason for the whole figure to be damaged. Oh yeah, the polar bear has battle damage. You're absolutely right, Just Under Anderson. Absolutely. But yeah, and I mean, some of them have a lot of scars, don't they? So that's about that damage technically. Wild Weasel, SVF and G, absolutely good shout. And Chuckles, you're schooling me now, guys, on this. Of course, Chuckles has an extra head that's been beaten to a pulp. Wild Weasel has the battle damage on his helmet and mask, absolutely, and the bats already mentioned, yeah. But yeah, that's it kind of has to kind of make sense, doesn't it? In a way, either the narrative of the character or the version of the character itself. But yeah. And then, of course, we have the Thunder Machine, EJ Sue kind of like blueprints cover, which is an interesting one, I will say, because I would have thought you'd just want to kind of fill the space with the Thunder Machine and just have the blueprints as a sort of, ever so subtle background. but he's kind of done it in a way where it just sits in a weird place on the cover, and I'm not 100% sure I'm into that. The more I think about it, it's definitely not one of my favorite covers, but obviously it's the Thunder Machine, and the Thunder Machine is a rad vehicle. But yeah, I will say I think. Well, also, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think going the other side, like if you spin the Thunder Machine to the other direction, so it's pointing in the other direction at a even more oblique angle in that kind of negative space on the blueprints, I think I would be more into it. And again, it's just a preference. It's just me, isn't it? So again, like you may have different kind of opinions on that one. Scott says it's a model Thunder Machine sitting on the instructions. Yeah, but if that's your logic, then it's at the wrong angle. If it was sitting on the instructions should be kind of like flat on the table as opposed to upright with that at an angle, with the shadow underneath it. It's not physically in that plane, technically, Scott. But yeah, I think it would have been cool if they'd maybe even done something, if he'd done something more like that, like blueprints on a table and the model of the Thunder Machine sort of like next to it, would have been kind of cool. Yes, Once a Man Cobra Commander does have battle damage. Well, his clothes are all ripped. His clothes is all ripped, isn't it? So yeah, he's also technically battle damaged as well. And all right then. And if we're getting really technical, then would you say the Energon, Dark Energon damage done to the mole rats is battle damage as well? Just Under says best Jojo community and host, even if he's across the pond. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Battle damaged 4-inch Snake Eyes would be dope in classified. Battle damaged 4-inch Snake Eyes would be dope in classified. I'm so confused, Couchboy. How do you do a 4-inch Snake Eyes in classified? It would be 6-inch, right? I've lost the plot on that one. Sorry. You may have a different mind. You might have a different point there that I've missed completely, and I apologize. Blitz says it's sort of breaking the rule of thirds. Yeah, I think that's what's bothering me about it. Is that a 2-door 4-seater? Probably just a 2-door 2-seater Lego Star Wars kid for the Thunder Machine. But then maybe it's a bench seat in the Thunder Machine, so you can kind of get away with it. But no, I think they have seats in the Thunder Machine, don't they? Good afternoon, Joe. Johnny says classified Lieutenant Falcon's face battle damage. Good point. Anyway, oh yes, Scrap Iron is permanently battle damaged. Yes, with his massive crazy scar. Okay, that's enough comics for today. Next up, we are getting into what are we getting into next? Well, it's out of comics and into, I think, fans hobby. Yes, it's fans hobby, and the VEA02 accessory pack that is going to be coming with the VE02, which is effectively the Not a Fang helicopter, and I've got a few images as well to have a look at as well with this accessory pack. So for those who are fans of fans hobby, I know there's a few of you out there, myself included. Actually, I think they do some really cool, versions of vehicles. The Fang is probably my least favorite of what they've done. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. We've got a cockpit on it for a change, but it's still very much like a sort of like wants to be a Skyhawk, but for Cobra. And we know the reasoning for that. They're reusing some of the tooling from their previous VE01, the Air Eagle, which obviously was a kind of homage to the Skyhawk. And they've got like a they've got the version basically you can take the cockpit off and have an open seater, and you can also have the cockpit on if for something slightly different, which they've gone on these images. Scott says it's cool, but it's not a Fang. Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. It is it's a bit too chonky in the width, I would say, to be that. It kind of has a bit of Blue Thunder vibes. Would you agree? Not disagree? You can if you want. Obviously, I'm just saying some observations, but it does scream a little bit Blue Thunder to me, which, if you're unaware of Blue Thunder, was a kind of 80s blue helicopter with that kind of blocky sort of like design, a bit much bigger than the Fang, obviously, like a full-size helicopter. There was a TV show and what have you. I don't think I've seen one single episode of Blue Thunder, but I had the Blue Thunder helicopter toy and the pilot figure, the kind of 5 point of articulation pilot figure, and genuinely loved it and used it for GI Joe. It was kind of like my stand-in for the Dragonfly, basically. But yeah, who'd have thought we'd have been talking about Blue Thunder today? Blue Thunder Light PVJ, yes, indeed. It looks like Lego on the side shot, says Scott. Mega Blocks kind of toy, says Venom. Yes, it does have that vibe. Can't wait for the real Fang, says Venom. Yeah, I think that's something that I think a lot of people are ready for now. In any case, here we have the accessory pack. Now that's going to be blast effects, extra missiles, I want to say, those kind of weapon extra elements as well, like the launchers possibly. Doesn't actually say on the post what comes in the accessory pack. They may have said in the past, but I'm just assuming it's the blast effects and the extra sort of like missiles and what have you. I was a Blue Thunder fan, didn't watch Airwolf, lol, says Blitz. Yeah, I was an Airwolf fan, but I had owned a Blue Thunder vehicle. Hella Geek says, I'm digging this, and man, I tell you, between this and their Air Eagle, Hasbro had better raise their game for the release of the Skyhawk and Fang. Hella Geek, I just want to make a point on that one as well. I agree with you. I think what they've done with the Air Eagle is phenomenal. It's kind of also a bit like one of those things that kind of pulls me in two different directions, though, because I kind of feel like it's almost preventing Classified from doing it officially, which is a little bit of a shame. But also, you know, it's going to be compared to that. And I'm not saying that, I mean, who knows when they actually bring it out? Is it going to be better or not? Who knows? I will say that I think Fans Hobbies ATAC is better than the Ore Striker. I know it's like sacrilege to say it, but I think just in general, like the design or the kind of proportions of the ATAC that they did is so much more to my kind of liking in the proportion, in the all of that stuff, basically. Yeah. But I would say that it's also interesting that they came out of the gate, Fans Hobby, with a Skyhawk and an Ore Striker and a Fang, all vehicles that you expect Hasbro to do. Obviously, they have done the Ore Striker, still no Fang, still no Skyhawk, but a lot of that could be down to Fans Hobby doing this. I don't think it would have that much of an effect necessarily in terms of like sales, but because you'd probably have most people tend to wait, don't they? Because they know that something's going to be coming eventually. But when you kind of like, when I kind of put the Ore Striker next to the ATAC, I'm like, oh god, I prefer the ATAC. In any case, I will say that the Gridiron editions for the Ore Striker definitely look worth getting. Like the retro kit and the wheels look fantastic with that actual Hasbro Ore Striker, which I have ordered, and I can't wait to kind of put that together and see what's going on. Yeah, they also revealed a black variant of the Ore Striker, the ATAC. Yes, Talib 1980, they did. Fans Hobby revealed that as well this week. Should have had it in here, but again, it's, what more can I say on it other than what I've just said? The ramen tanks are pretty cool, for sure, yeah. I don't know if we were ever going to get a few of those sort of things, or we certainly weren't going to get them from Hasbro in any time soon, I would say. But it's I would be surprised if they don't visit those particular vehicles in the future, like the Blooming Bridge Layer, for example. Like I'm surprised that these companies went for all of these main sort of character vehicles, whereas I think these companies would be better served doing things you ain't going to see or supplementing the line. Things like Darklon's Evader, for example. And you might say, yeah, but no one wants that. But you might find that people would be wanting to get it for their Darklon. And the same sort of thing for, again, I would say avoid a water moccasin, because I think that would actually happen eventually in the future. But, I'm surprised they didn't do something like that, actually, because, that seemed to be one of those things that people definitely wanted for Copperhead, myself included. I mean, I genuinely wanted a water moccasin with Copperhead personally. I didn't necessarily need a Python Patrol version of it with Python Patrol Copperhead, because we didn't have that in the vintage era necessarily. We did have it eventually. We did get a Python Patrol water moccasin, but I think in terms of like what the necessities would be for that, I'd be happy with a regular water moccasin and a couple versions of Copperhead. Perfect. Anyway, the kit or the accessory pack looks pretty cool, and there's also the what they've included in this accessory pack is like a little arm that holds the missile in front of the vehicle to make it look like it's fired the missile and the missile's gone off with the blast effect on the back as well. So that's kind of cute too. So some fun little additions there to make it like even cooler. And yeah, I like it. But I definitely feel like it's not the standout of the Fans Hobby lineup, in my opinion, for that one. Going broke says just under, yeah, big time. Chris, it's a rainy day here in LA, says Hella Geek, and I couldn't be happier sitting here with a cup of hot tea and this stream with my fellow Joe Geeks. Lovely to hear, Hella Geek. I'm glad you're having tea and that it's raining. It just reminds me of just lots of things that I'm well versed in, for obvious reasons. Gridiron just need real rubber tires, says Lego Star Wars Kid. Are they not rubber tires? Interesting. I want an effing buzzbore. There's another thing, yeah, like things like those sort of weird vehicles might do well for these kind of companies. Buzzbores, pogos, swamp mashers, imps. What else could you throw in there that's weird? I don't know. Condor's pretty weird. Like, I think you could definitely have you could definitely do something that wouldn't be as offensively C&D chasey as what they actually do with Ramen, with Fans Hobby. A Gridiron sort of, I want to say Gridiron sort of kind of skirt it, probably more so because they do things that are sort of original and don't really cross that kind of IP threshold. Their Jungle Hound is very Awestrikerish, but it's very much its own vehicle. It's much more kind of chunky, proportionally different. Wheels are much bigger. The look and the vibe very different indeed. They kind of do things that supplement the line as opposed to sort of, I don't want to say rip it off, but you know what I mean. Like, but just kind of go, let's do a Skyhawk, let's do a an Awestriker. And what's interesting about the Fans Hobby ATAC is it started off very much, from my perspective anyway, looking very much like the original Chenoweth, more so than the inspiration for the Awestriker. And I thought that was what it was going to end up looking like, and it ended up looking more like an Awestriker than any of the options from the other kind of companies. Not seeing a MOBA anytime soon from Hasbro, so Armadillo Tank would be a great for Steeler, says Johnny B54. Very possibly, yeah. Speaking of Python Patrol, did Hasbro discontinue that sub-team, asks Venom. None of these sub-teams are discontinued as such, Venom. So what they effectively came to a nice kind of finishing point, but the theme for Target has changed. So obviously they're not doing Tiger Force and Python Patrol with Target anymore. That doesn't mean we won't see future figures in certain ways and decos in down the line. So in terms of like discontinuing, only in the sense that they changed the theme for Target. So it depends how you look at it, but discontinue to me would be never really approach again. Do you know what I mean? Like it would be like, well, we're done with that and we're never really coming back to it. Whereas I think it's more of a pause in play while other sub teams, other themes are kind of visited, and then you'll see they'll drop they'll drop certain. I mean, I'd be really surprised if we don't see some sort of Python Patrol Major Blood, or like one of those other kind of Python Patrol characters from the kind of later years where they were kind of in the all black and the red snake skin sort of check. I think that would be something that may happen in the future, like a Python Patrol 2.0 would be kind of cool to do. And I could see them even doing like a Serpentor release in the similar way that Super 7 have. But yeah, I wouldn't say in terms of discontinue, yes, in a sense, but not also in another sense. Talib says these third-party companies know how to steal my shelf space big time. Who put comic renders on Facebook? October Guard and Tommy Stalker SE in War. They were in a Joe group. Those were brilliant. Yeah, I think I've seen those in the past, Couchboy. There's a few sort of fan renders going around of lots of different kind of characters we haven't had yet, or could have in the future, and they look really cool. I look the fan renders are always really good. When they're too good, it's funny because when they're too good, there's that second guess thing of like, oh, is that legit? But then you look at it and you go, oh no, it's obviously not, because you can see they've had to use a bigger outer glow to clear up some of the mistakes in the background. I think Rowdy Toys has an Evader, an Armadillo, and now a Mauler. Yes, Lightfoot, I believe they do. Rowdy Toys, that Mauler is beautiful looking. I didn't know they had an Evader though. Oh, actually, no, I did. I've seen it. I just didn't know it was Rowdy Toys. Armadillo as well. Do you think we'll ever get a functional battle copter? Asks Cowabunga Dude. I want to say, I want to say no, but only because I'm not. Well, why? Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I guess you could do that. It's part of the brand. The thing is, it's sort of like in that same sort of arena. It's a bit goofy, and it's a little bit mental, and it's fun from a toy aesthetic. It's fun from a toy perspective when you're a kid and you're flying the battlecopters around with the figures on them, right? That makes sense and it's cool, but it is a little bit like from a practical standpoint and like the serious classifiedness of everything. I don't know. I'd actually love to see them. I shouldn't say no to anything. I'm just trying to put myself in like a Hasbro perspective here. More so, do I want to see it? I want to see everything. I want them to do every single thing that's ever happened in classified form. Stygian says discontinued is anyone's guess, but we haven't seen a new one in a while. In terms of Python Patrol, yeah, same point though. It's come to an end in terms of the theme at Target. You'll probably see one in the future though. They'll probably do something. But the thing is, there's also the vintage lineup of Python Patrol figures is done. We don't have any more vintage Python Patrol aesthetic figures, so it would have to be that like later version where you've got Major Blood, Heat Viper, which don't even have a regular one yet, Laser Viper don't even have a regular one yet, Rock Viper, same, all those kind of characters. Or you could throw in the like in the future when we got into the GI Joe Collectors Club, the 4-inch modern, they did do a Televiper Officer in a different deco. Same is Python Patrol sort of theme, but a different kind of like layout and deco and what have you. So I'd love to see a Televiper Officer in Python Patrol, and I'd love to see Major Blood in that sort of black and red, and then I'd love to see those other ones kind of done in that style as well. I kind of think, and Motor Viper, but then again, we need a stun, and we need a Python stun as well, wouldn't we? But yeah, there's other options and other things you could probably do, but in like as a natural kind of end point, they did do a majority, I would say, of what I really needed in Python Patrol. I still think a Python Patrol Serpentor with Air Chariot would have been cool, but I don't think many people would have wanted that. I want posable hands for my snake armor, says Blitz. That'd be fun. Third-party Falcon and Viper gliders, says Scott. That'd be cool as well. It's not small, but the bug, says Jason. No, it's not small at all, but that would be amazing. They wouldn't be Target exclusive, but I could see a reissue of the Python Viper and Televiper using the new retro tooling. That's a good shout, Ed. That's a really good shout. Scott says Zartan Swamp Skier. Yeah, definitely need that. Talib says that's what hurts this not Fang, trying to stay away from a C&D and retooling, reusing old molds. RS Seattle says they should reuse Raptor's glider pack and repaint them with Grunt for a smaller version of the Falcon and Viper gliders. That's not a bad shout either. I think Raptor's kind of wings machine is a little bit too him though. Like it needs to be slightly retooled to make it like, less feathery, I would say. Pulse Premium figures. Mobat seems dead in the water, says Lego Star Wars Kid. Possibly. Just under Anderson, I used the Ramen Toy Joe Fest exclusive for my Mobat. It cost me the Rattler that year, but I got 2 tanks instead of 1 Rattler. Interesting. Safe bet we get a Python Patrol female Crimson Guard to maximize the new tooling, says Jeremy. Yes. I feel like we're going to get a regular Crimson Guard as well, because the retro one is that different, like, crimson color, which is kind of interesting. They went with that. So I think we've got a couple of options with the female Crimson Guard. Python Patrol Crocmaster is a good shout as well, Scott. Absolutely. Grizzlehorn, love watching the Full Force podcast while rearranging my Joes. I like listening to Manchester United podcasts while I rearrange my Joes, because I don't have me to listen to, and I watch Talking Joe at different times. Still waiting for the Python Patrol Crocmaster. Yep, definitely Scott for sure. Oh, I have a question, says Lego Star Wars Kid. If Snake Eyes Polar Bear is Snake Eyes Polar Bear a Target exclusive? No, don't think so. It was a Fanmazon. Target exclusive was Breaker mass device and the Divers mass device, and then they are probably changing again going forward. Now and then they did the other mass device in Fanmazon, so it's a Fanmazon release with Snake Eyes and the Polar Bear. Bry's enjoying a hot coffee. Nice. At this point, yeah, if we're going to get 1 tank at all, it'll be the Mauler, says Ed. I prefer the Mauler. Venom says, yes, the 2.0 Python Patrol designs, black and red, are so awesome. I think so as well. Ed says, I've seen a lot of AI renders for classified wishlist that kinda to me. Irks me, yes. I must admit, I'm not a fan of seeing the AI stuff. When I see the AI stuff, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, and it's sort of always very much the same. It looks the same, and it's not like what it should look like in what you really kind of. Anyway, by the by, yeah, I'm not a fan of AI in general. For art, there are other aspects where I think AI is very important and very good, but in terms of art, I think it should be nowhere near it. And I say that like turning things off on Photoshop as well when I'm doing stuff. I'm like, no, I'm doing this the way I've always done it. Thank you very much. Bryce says, in David Bowie's voice, Python Patrol to Major Blood. I like it. I think Ramen Toys is coming out with Jets soon. Wow, that's crazy, says Just Under. Kangor says SVF and G. Crocmaster says Venom and Major Blood. I need my MTO Wolverine and Water Moccasin. Yeah, we'll talk about MTO in a bit, actually. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the comments at the moment, but thank you very much for all the chat, guys. I do appreciate it. Cal says, are the upcoming Ninja Force figures the 2026 Target exclusives? Cal, yes, because we know that Ninja Force Zartan is coming, right? And we know that he's a Target exclusive. We know it's a name only they've done, and we know that it's a Target exclusive listing. So yeah, it's going to be Ninja Force in it for Target, basically. They really overdo the female character chest area, says Justin Anderson. Interesting. I don't know what that's in relation to, but sure. Yeah. Anyway, that is Fans Hobby VE02 and the VEA02 accessory pack. Now, next up, we have what do we have next? Oh yeah, Super 7 news, guys. Let's get into it. Actually wasn't Super 7 news. I just misidentified the next thing, but I've just gone to the Super 7 news anyway, and I'll just do a bit of a flip reverse it when I go to the next story. In any case, in actual fact, I might just skip that the other story, but we'll see how it goes. Yes, Reaction Plus Glow in the Dark Snake Eyes is happening now. A little while ago, we did have. I'm really confused now. I can't multitask. We did have a distributor list that popped out that sort of semi-revealed what looked to be another wave of Reaction Plus figures. Now, I actually thought when this popped up on Thursday, this image of, officially from Super 7, glow in the dark, Snake Eyes artwork, that we were going to see the pre-order the next day. doesn't seem to have happened. So I think that we can expect that either Monday or some other time in the week. But this does align with that rumor. So maybe they're just going to drop a few little teasers of different, characters that obviously line up with that particular thing. So just to refresh everyone's memories, that wave 6 with question mark there was like, again, a leaked list from a distributor. And on that list, it highlighted Arctic Scarlet. There we go. Arctic Snake Eyes red glow in the dark figure, and that's come to fruition. It also said movie Cobra Commander, and then it said Arctic Mara, which obviously is just bonkers. I think it's a typo, and it was a carryover from the other Arctic figures from above. So I think it's just Mara. Let's just say Mara, just for argument's sake. I'm going to stop saying Arctic Mara. But I would suggest that obviously the fact that this Snake Eyes one has popped up so soon following that leak does probably legitimize the rest of that list. Now, I don't know, but it's that thing I said at the time. We don't know. We can't confirm it at the moment, but there's, it's the kind of there's no smoke without fire sort of argument. And I think with this, you could definitely, it's not a stretch to go, because we've had leaks in the past constantly, especially with distributors. BBTS usually drop them, don't they? Or Entertainment Earth, or whoever it may be. There'll be a little slip out of what's actually coming, and it kind of gives you a bit more insight of oh, cool, we're getting these figures for Reaction Plus. So the fact that we got this artwork, again, I believe this is the Jason Edmiston artwork that they used for the glow in the dark reaction Snake Eyes, if I'm correct in saying that, or was that glow in the dark reaction Snake Eye? This is where I'm going to get confused, because there was a glow in the dark reaction Snake Eyes that came with the sled and the hermit, but then wasn't there another glow in the dark Snake Eyes that was single carded? There's been a few, hasn't there? Oh, there was the Glow Patrol one, wasn't there? So they have sort of utilized Snake Eyes artwork with a glow in the dark job. So yeah, effectively, this is probably, again, technically new artwork, or doctored artwork from the previous one. A lot of popping and slipping out this episode. Sorry, RKW, I'm wearing the wrong pants. Red Lantern Snake Eyes, says Archangel Michael Mars. I like that. That's quite funny. I know I didn't laugh, but I actually do quite find that funny, because he just needs a ring on, doesn't he? Little slip out kit, he said. Yes, Scott, indeed. Want to see a Shipwreck and Mara 2-pack come out in classified. That would be pretty cool, Joe. But anyway, yeah, so I think effectively this, obviously we know this is official now. We're getting Reaction Plus, red glow in the dark Snake Eyes. So that is on that list, check. We had that Serpentor pop out, although we didn't have any sort of leak or information about Serpentor in advance. And he wasn't on that list. So, and he turned out to be a Target exclusive anyway. But the funny thing is with these, and this is what I don't really understand with the kind of cadence and the rhythm of their releases, is it usually goes a wave of 4 and an extra figure that shows up at Target that you don't know about until it's out there. We sort of already had that with the last wave, because we had Tiger Force Duke pop up, and then we get Python Patrol Serpentor out of nowhere on his own. And I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe it's sort of supposed to be in line with this wave of figures with the red glow in the dark Snake Eyes, Arctic's Scarlet, Mara, and Cobra Commander from the movie with Cloak and what have you. So it wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if those other characters pop up soon as well. Now, it's also quite interesting with a glow in the dark figure that it's not, will this be an exclusive? Because obviously Serpentor was. Will this be an exclusive? And does that mean that there's another figure we don't know of in that list? Yes, Mark, that was what I was trying to get around, the kind of in my head. If we'd seen this exact artwork used on a red glow in the dark reaction regular figure, but we hadn't, because that was packaged in a different way. So then I switched to saying, yes, it's probably just the Snake Eyes artwork. It's the Snake Eyes artwork originally, doctored to look like the red glow in the dark version. So yeah, I'm on that now. I'm there. I'm level with you. Wait, whose parts am I wearing? Weird. What? I still need that Serpentor, says Chucky Tinderbin. Best name ever. Breast name ever. Oh, pants. Yes. Whose pants am I wearing? Not mine. Not any, actually. The fact that I'm doing the 3/4 shot here means I could just, it'd be free and easy in the under trousers area. Could you imagine if you found out that I'm naked every single episode? I'm not, though. I'll prove it. I'll prove it. This is where it gets dangerous. I'm going to pull my pants up so you can actually see it on the screen. I don't actually think you can. Can you see my pants? It's too much. I can't actually get up there, Kitty said. But no, let's just pretend I'm naked. Right. So anyway, yes, I think it legitimizes the others. And then I'm pretty much almost certain we're going to get Mara, movie Cobra Commander, and an Arctic Scarlet. So look out for those next week, I guess, or in the coming months. Because, like I said, the fact that this was leaked quite recently, either they're maybe pushing them out slightly differently, Kitty said. Maybe they're doing it like, we've had a leak. Let's put them out one by one or something. I don't know. It's weird though, isn't it? Because they usually do things by waves, and it would be odd to do like one figure every kind of couple of weeks, which it feels like they're doing with Duke, Serpentor, and now this Red Glow Snake Eyes. And yeah. So it'd also be quite interesting if they do a full wave. One of them is glow in the dark and the other three are standard. Have they done that before? I feel like the whole Glow Patrol were all glow in the dark, both sets. The glow in the dark obviously in the vehicle was like a vehicle set with the Hermit and the dog sled. So I'm kind of a little also surprised if it is going to be a wave of 4. And this isn't an exclusive, because they would say on the artwork, if this was an exclusive, it would have a Target logo, it would have a Walmart, it would have some sort of logo on it to insinuate that exclusivity. So who knows? Maybe it could be Super 7 web store exclusive, but again, maybe we'll find out in the future. And it bugs me when I don't know. And is it me, or have I always found Snake Eyes pistol in this particular era of Joe to be so Dan Dare? Like, it is the most Dan Dare pistol I've ever seen in my life. Or Bucky O'Hare, which effectively was kind of taken from that retro future vibe as well, weren't they? But yeah, Dan Dare, Bucky O'Hare pistols for Snake Eyes right there. Anyway, that is, I believe, everything for Super 7. Like I said, you could expect to see Arctic Scarlet, Cobra Commander movie, and Mara very soon as well. I'm kind of hoping next week we get some movement on that, even if it's just like, more reveals or something, or just the pre-order drop, like the big one, just Bosch. So keep an eye out on Monday, because that's probably when that if they're going to drop next week, probably be Monday, but who knows? I also could be wrong there too. Pistol is very Flash Gordon, says Scott. Buck Rogers and Marvin Martian, says Blitz as well. Yeah, all of that kind of like retro future vibe. When I say retro future, I'm referring to back in the day what they thought the future was going to look like, kind of 50s retro future kind of designs. Anyway, there you go. Snake Eyes looked kind of cool. I love glow in the dark, and it was kind of expected, this figure. Let's face it, guys, it was expected. Another Snake Eyes, but he glows red, just like his radioactive cartoon version. Right then, next up, and we have a tiny bit of Renegade Game Studios news. Tiny bit. Just a quickie, Kitty said, but the Heroscape Lady Jaye sort of art and bio has been posted by RGS, Renegade Game Studios, for the Heroscape game. And we've already had Roadblock and Dr. Mindbender, and now Lady Jaye joins that little group, and we get this kind of fun little piece of art of her zip lining, very low to the ground. So she must be coming to the end of her zip line. She must have been, obviously, it'd be weird to be zip lining that high off the just 5 feet off the ground. But she's obviously just coming in to the to the end of that zip line, as she's about to throw her spear at someone's face by the look of it. What's interesting about this, and we've talked about it in the past with her figure, the actual mini figure that the Heroscape game comes with, but the fact that they've got this almost like figure that never actually appeared. Like the Lady Jaye that we got doesn't actually resemble this one, really, especially in like the legs area, right? Because I mean, the gold shin guards and everything, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have that, or she might just have black shin guards. I'm trying to look at the figure from miles away, but I can't see it. Either way, it's interesting that we've, that RGS are utilizing that sort of evergreen classified vibe. We've talked about it already in the past, and that's what they're kind of utilizing for this particular game. I didn't even notice that, Archangel, how diesel jacked she looks in holding onto that zip line. Like her arm looks huge, doesn't it? She have to kind of, you have to work out a little bit to hit a zip line one-handed and yoink a friggin' spear at somebody. Figure Six Pack says, are they CoverGirl's boots? I'd have to look at CoverGirl, but they could have done some sort of like interesting combination, and maybe that might have been an original Lady Jaye design. And that's another thing as well. They'd be taking materials from Hasbro's original sort of vibe. So yeah, it's definitely something that we might have had had they continued the gold shin guards route. Sort of glad they didn't, in a way. I do like a lot of those figures from that early period, but I must say, like, I love where Classified is right now. And I'm happy to just keep getting Classified as we're getting it, please and thank you. Thanos says, obviously the intended original coloring of the figure that never happened. She's lifting her entire body with one arm on the zip line. The center of gravity doesn't work for her hanging from it. And I know, Scott, and the fact that she's going to be like having to somehow get some sort of like, yeah, that's hardcore. That is. If that was me, if that were I on that zip line, I'd be spinning round like an absolute jellycopter, and I probably would have let go about 7 feet into the zip line by just slipped off it. Anyway, amazing stuff. A nice dynamic shot of Lady Jaye. But there's Heroscape for you guys, and you got that to look forward to if you're a Heroscape fan. And of course, I've ordered the G.I. Joe Heroscape. And this is, of course, the expansion. This is the Strike Forces Army expansion that we're dealing with at the moment. I think Rumble at the Rift was Mindbender, and I want to say that Roadblock is also Rumble at the Rift, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, Heroscape, G.I. Joe, let's go. Next up, and I think we may be looking. Oh yeah, we talked made to order, didn't we? So let's do a little bit more of that. Where's the video? I don't know what happened there. I absolutely brain farted while I was trying to change the graphics. Yes, in the week, I did a little bit of a chat, kind of news bursty, kind of like discussion-based episode regarding the made-to-order vibe of Hasbro, which is what they're kind of going towards with Classified. And I just thought I'd kind of summarize what I talked about in that a little bit. Some of my thoughts, just kind of broken down. We're not going to go into massive detail here. You can always check that news burst out, of course, from the week later on, if you haven't already watched it. But in that particular video, we're obviously talking about the made-to-order Arctic Hiss, which is coming from Hasbro as a winter pre-order. Now, I obviously looking up what winter means, you're talking the 21st of December onwards up until like March the something, right? So I don't think that's what they mean. I think they mean like between now and the end of the year is probably when we'll get this information for the pre-order drop and all that kind of stuff for the Arctic Hiss. So I wanted to kind of talk about what made sense for G.I. Joe vehicles in this particular format. Now, the obvious thing, which I think a lot of people are just expecting now, are going to be expecting because of the time frame distance between HasLabs and reutilizing HasLab tooling, is that they're just going to be redecoed, sort of like shell versions of the original HasLabs. Obviously, that makes sense in this Arctic Hiss case because there's been a 3-year difference span since the regular Hiss to when we're going to get the Arctic Hiss. And then, so I can see why this would be like a good one to try it out on. But then you might fall into the trap of thinking, well, every year, if we're going to get one of these every year, which is, again, probably a possibility if this does well, then I think you're likely to see, they'll dip into those options in the future. And 3 of the main ones I can think of, Snowcat being the tiger cat, Rattler being the tiger rat, and the dragonfly turning into the tiger fly. These are all good possible options. I personally don't think they should just do that every single time. I think there's a lot of vehicles that fall into a sort of price point limbo where they don't really work for retail, too big for retail, or too complex, too costly, too expensive to create for retail purposes. And even from a Pulse exclusive perspective as well. And then, but they're also a little bit, they're not grand enough. They're not big enough. They don't come with enough stuff, enough things for it to really make sense as a HasLab. So they're these kind of like limbo vehicles that I kind of refer to. That again, if you're not really going to get at like $100, and you're certainly not going to get, or you're going to get in a HasLab that's going to be at the higher end of that. 44D2 says you're not sucking me into this discussion again. Well, I'm keeping it a lot brief on this one, 44D2. So my kind of summarizing of this kind of came up with a few options for vehicles that kind of fit that sort of limbo status, right? That could actually end up in a kind of made to order fashion in a sort of price point that you're looking at kind of back end of 100, early 200s, right? So that kind of 175 to 215, I don't know, just in there. Let's just say $200 on average, right? I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at for the Arctic Hiss. I haven't got a price point for that, but I don't know what you guys think, but that looks to me like it could be in the, I don't know, it's going to be in the late ones, early twos. I don't think it's going to break 200. I think they might do like a 19999 or whatever the hell they do to make it seem like less than 200, but you know what I mean. I think it's probably going to be in that sort of ballpark. So again, like I said, you've got the repaints, which, yes, that would work. Snowcat would work as a tiger cat in a made to order scenario. I think the tiger rat might be one that would be a little bit more expensive as a made to order. And the dragonfly, I think you could definitely do no electronics, bare bones, Tiger Force Wild Bill or Recondo. You'd have to do Wild Bill, and you'd have to do a Tiger Force Wild Bill, which we have had for the Tiger Rat in the modern era. And then, like no electronics, bare bones, Tiger Rat. I'm in for that. That'd be no problem. But then I got to thinking about these vehicles, and I did one for Cobra and I did one for Joe. Now, I kind of feel like the water moccasin could be somewhere in that made to order sort of variety. If it's proving to be too big for a retail kind of option, maybe this is where it could live. Same for the Thunder Machine. I think these are 2 very good options, and they don't have to be $200 every single time. I'm just saying for the Arctic Hiss, that probably does sit in that sort of variety for me. And I think 150, you're talking something on a smaller scale, I think, than the Hiss, personally. I think. Also, you've got to take into consideration that the prices have gone up, and I don't think they're starting. They're not starting before 150 on that. So I think it's going to be pushing 200. I think Havoc's too big, Michael. That would be a HasLab, in my opinion. So made to order, I think the Water Moccasin, the Thunder Machine, the Cobra Wolf, and the Stun all have that sort of a little bit too large for retail. Kind of break that $100 mold, and you're sort of getting into a higher price point. And that's where I think the made to order could be a good place for them. And like I said, we don't need to have every single year. We don't need to have just the redeco Tiger Force version or a redeco of the already, now unlocked HasLab tooling. I think you can definitely do that in the future with one of them, but it doesn't have to be like, we don't have to see that every single year, do we? Personally, will we? Is another question. I don't know the answer to that. And it seems to me like she lived her life like a candle in the wind. It seems to me like the Thunder Machine could be one of those ones that is like perfect for this because it gets it out, Kitty said, to the people that want, like everyone wants it, and kind of does it at a price point that makes sense, in that like a bit of a higher price point without it getting into the HasLab variety, which I think a lot of people took offense to with the Snowcat. So yeah, could the Snowcat have been in that made to order situation? Probably. They would have obviously wound back a lot of the additional extras, but you would have, I think you would have been able to get a Snowcat in a made to order sort of vibe. Effectively, I mean, they're the same thing. They're just marketed very slightly ever so slightly differently. And you don't really know what the minimum order quantity is, right? Like you see what you're getting with the HasLab because you see everyone, like you see the numbers, but with made to order, I feel like that's something you don't quite see. In any case, I think doing new things in made to order makes a little bit more sense rather than just doing constant redecos. And yeah, you could do that for one of those MTO spots, but I just don't think it should be every single time. I think we should get new things in that spot at times, basically. But anyway, Stun's a good one because you can have crazy big, the thing splits and has this kind of crazy feature. It's a lot of figures go on it. You've got like the pilot, the gunner, the driver, the gunner, 2 gunners technically, and 3 gunners with a rear gunner. So you've got like a lot of like figure like body. So the vehicle's going to be big, it's going to be chunky, and it's going to be bloody awesome. So I really want a Cobra Stun is basically what I'm saying. But the Wolf in a similar vibe. You've got those 2 figures sitting on like almost like Dragonfly style, helicopter style, in front of the other, like one down at an angle a little bit. But the main body of the vehicle is going to be really huge. So I think, again, with all the features and the additional extras, would be a really cool made to order vehicle, 100%. And yes, MTO Snowcat probably would have lost the kitchenette, probably. The other difference, obviously, with HasLab is you get all those like tier editions and figures, and the MTO is just going to be like a vehicle and a figure basically in it, or I don't know, there might be more depending on how big the vehicle is, but that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be like, oh, and we're going to unlock this and unlock that. It's effectively going to be what you see is what you get, and if you want it, you can get it now, and we might make it if we get enough pre-orders, sort of thing. Whereas the HasLab, there's that enticing element of like, back and you'll get, you keep backing and you'll get this tier and that tier unlocked and that tier unlocked, and you get all these extras and additions and what have you, and it becomes like a much bigger kind of deal. But yeah, I think the Thunder Machine is probably the highest priority on this particular list. I also did it for Joe as well, and I've also added the Desert Fox, which I didn't do in the news burst, so I have added information to this, or visual information to this. I had planned to put the Desert Fox in and then just forgot. So the Desert Fox is one I think that is, again, baseline size is bigger than your Vamps and your Ore Strikers, and therefore would kind of increase it a little bit into a higher area. Persuader, Michael Taylor, I'm kind of with you on that one. I think a Persuader would work beautifully in made to order. I don't think it would be one of those things that people would want enough for a HasLab, if that makes sense. You want to keep the HasLab, and this is what made to order does. I think it increases the sort of grandiosity of what the HasLab becomes then. Like it puts the HasLab back into sort of dream status, where I think the made to order can kind of like do sort of like your fairly decent sized vehicles, and then if you want it, you can get it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with like HasLab, it's sort of like a one and done sort of, if this doesn't fund, you're never going to get it, but it's a dream and it's big and it's grand and it's crazy. So yeah, I think I genuinely think that changes what the HasLab is, and that's another episode I will be doing next week. I'll be doing a what does this mean for the HasLab sort of episode and talk about that too. But I definitely love the Persuader idea. The Slugger I put in there just because of the size and the fact that it's quite an iconic vehicle for Joe. Is it loved by everybody and everyone wants it? Not necessarily. I think, again, on this list, the X-30 Conquest is a smaller jet that I think they could definitely do either in this or with the current HasLab scenario. But the fact, like I said, that we're turning the HasLab into some kind of dream, big, ridiculous levels. Mobat goes in there, I think, RKW. Mobat probably ends up in HasLab, in my opinion, because I just think it's too big. But the Conquest X30, I think you can get away with. And again, there's gonna be levels to it. There's gonna be nuance to it. There's gonna be like, there's gonna be like, it's not just a black and white thing. And I think like the Mobat's one of those ones that even ends up in sort of a limbo between made to order and HasLab a little bit. Maybe the Conquest does too. Maybe the Conquest is a little bit too big for that. But obviously the Conquest is a stumpier jet, and therefore is an opportunity. I think we could do a Slipstream and an X30 at a kind of manageable level. Would it have to be HasLab? Possibly, but and it does lend itself to a Python Patrol repaint. You're absolutely right there, Jeremy. Absolutely. Michael Bird says, I'd love the Wolverine, but I fear 2 releases for CoverGirl tells us they ain't never going to do it. I think you've got another CoverGirl in there, though. I think you could do a retro toy head CoverGirl, which we haven't technically had. We've had like a classified-esque version. We've had a retro one with long blonde hair, and I think you could do another sort of semi-retro, like use the body, but give her a different head sculpt, and the Wolverine. And I think, yeah, you've got a real option there, I think. And out of these particular 4, I think the Wolverine is probably on the highest, is probably one of the highest level ones. That and the Conquest, I think, probably pushing the most wanted there in that group. And I'm just saying that, but yeah. And that's sort of that really, in terms of that kind of chat. And like I said, I'll be talking about the HasLab next week, doing another similar episode where I kind of put forth what I think the HasLab should end up becoming. And I do think it should become that sort of like dream project. And I also personally wouldn't be against them doing it once every 2 years. If it's going to be something ridiculous, like for example, if they were to do a Tomahawk or an Eagle Hawk, right? If they did that in 1 year and also, but we're also getting made to orders, then that might be that's a hefty line plan. That is a hefty amount to be dishing out in a year, right? For a consumer. The next year, maybe you don't do a HasLab because you're doing something like mental and huge that might be a little bit more expensive in that sense. Or maybe you do a HasLab 1 year and made to order the next year. I don't know. Maybe 2 made to orders the next year and 1 HasLab the next year. So you kind of do like a dream project, and then you do a couple of like larger vehicles in like a made to order scenario. I don't know the best way about it, but I definitely think it's something that is worth talking about for sure. Yeah. Anyway, that is everything for made to order. There's one last little news story to talk about. I'm not even going to make an explosion about it because it's still in the classified miscellaneous segment. And that is that new figures are showing up in this week, of course. So all the latest wave of figures are showing up in stores now. Wetsuit, Sci-Fi, Grim Viper, Mainframe. So again, we should start seeing these coming in now. I just got delivered retro green shirt, Battle Android Trooper, Short Fuse and Steeler. That came in this week for me personally. What did you guys get this week? And again, like, have you been seeing these in stores? Always cool to find out if you have been. I haven't been going to stores, so I don't bloody know. The HasLab should be every other year with MTO in the middle, says Joe. It's just that is really just me spitballing, because I don't know what I prefer. I think I personally would like them to sometimes call it, when we're going to be looking at the classified listings in a second, and there's so many of them that it's just for 2026. I'm just like, can we get a break, please? Just please, a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, they're showing up. So I can't wait to get Wetsuit Grim Viper mainframe, because I've already got sci-fi. Yeah, I will flex a little bit on that one. I got sci-fi ages ago. And I got Pythona early as well. So the only two figures I've really had before most people, honestly, so far in the whole history of this channel. So it's not like I do this all the time. I just managed to get sci-fi early, and I managed to get Pythona before everyone else. I was quite impressed with that. And to do a video as soon as she arrived. Come on. Game recognized game, right? Anyway, talking of leak listings, yes, 2025 is done and dusted, complete. We've got all the listings for 2025. So anything that is going to be pre-order or what have you, or revealed before the end of the year, is going to be on this list. Of course, we've already got green on this list. We've got the Lifeline Night Viper Hit and Run Big Lob Mole Rat wave. That's done. Hydro Viper's there, look, in the next wave. Iceberg in the following wave, and we look like we're back to the 5 figure waves as well. Of course, we've already talked about that again in depth. The Royal Guard unlocked there in the mainline deluxe section. Gleep, aka the Snowcat, is obviously green because that's been and gone in terms of pre-order and, well, in terms of HasLab order and what have you. Michael Taylor has asked, Chris, will the inactives move to next year's list? Let me just quickly cover that. Chairface never had anything attached to it. Okay. It was a listing that was created, but never had any figure or anything actually associated with it. So that is just an inactive listing because they never filled it, if that makes sense. And then the Ralph T retro listing was a figure that was going to be in that line and then was moved into 2026. We don't know what figure it was. We don't know what it was going to be originally because we only got that information of what you see on screen. And we were always perplexed because I was like, who's Ralph T? If we know what the green shirt trooper and the bat's going to be, why do we not know the third figure? So I thought it was going to be like a redeco. I thought it might be like Ripcord or Crazy Legs or someone like that. And it could possibly have been, because then obviously the next phase of retro figures, we get Crazy Legs and we get Zap and we get the female Crimson Guard. So it could have been like Crazy Legs, for example. It could have been Crazy Legs, but we don't know. And I don't think we ever will know unless someone retains that information and tells us after the fact, many moons later, if that makes sense. So yeah, so just to be very clear on that, Michael, the Chairface never had anything attached to it, so there's no figure to carry over. And the retro Ralph T was a figure apparently, and but that was moved into 2026, but we just don't know what it is. So there you go. Maybe it was Iceberg. I don't think so. I genuinely don't. Well, again, I don't know, so I can't say yay or nay on that one. But yeah, I suppose it could have been. It could have been any bloody body, couldn't it? In that sense, I think my heart of hearts was it was going to be a repaint of Crazy Legs or Ripcord from the Night Force versions. But like I said, if I do find out, I'll bloody tell you, because that's something that's going to be in the past and doesn't really matter anymore. Do you think we will see Zanzibar in 2026? Asked Cliff Doc Christiansen. Oh God, I would bloody kill for a Zanzibar. I think, would it be a similar situation with Darklon where you wouldn't necessarily need his air skiff, or would you need his air skiff? I feel like Zanzibar is a figure, design, and character that wouldn't need it. It would be cool to have it, but I think as a figure, he would just be phenomenal anyway. But anyway, the Pogo is missing, says RKW. It's probably bounced off the screen somewhere then, hasn't it? And what else was I going to say? Yeah, the Arctic Assault Hiss we know is coming. So that's that yellow listing there. We know that the number, we don't know the internal code word. We know that Ninja Force Zartan is a Target exclusive. We know that Taurus and Red Dog is a 2-pack. And we know that, we know that anyway because they've name only revealed them as well. And then, of course, we know that Female Crimson Guard, Crazy Legs, and Zap are already pre-ordered and ready to go. So that is all of the listings to kind of cover. I think that's everything now. I'm going to just call it. We're going to go into shout outs in a second. But before that, a little word from our sponsor. Yes, get your Battle Action Force Deluxe Treasury Editions right this second at totaltoybooks.com if you're in the UK and Europe, and skeletron.com if you're in the United States. Massive shout out, of course, to Pat and Phil as well of Articulated Points. Pat, my usual co-host, hasn't been my usual co-host now for ages, but that's just because of availability not lining up. But Pat has been at Codename Iowa this weekend and having an absolute blast. So hopefully we'll be able to get Pat on soon to talk about it. That would be great, wouldn't it? Chris, did I put that beat together for the sponsor? No, Archangel, that was Skeletron that put that advert together. I wasn't involved in that one. I do banging beats, but that was not myself. I can't claim that one. But anyway, yeah, shout out to Pat and to Phil for Articulated Points, and they've got a great episode out at the moment. Go check it out on their channel, link in the description. That basically reveals what could have been another character in that kind of back end of the vintage era. Another character, another figure version, let's say. Yeah, so go check it out. It's really cool. Well, like if you're into your kind of history of G.I. Joe, you will absolutely, one, love that episode, and two, love Articulated Points. Get it in you. Yeah. Also, codenameiowa.com for all of your amazing, cool, awesome things like t-shirts and pop card backs and all that beautifully designed and awesome, cool stuff they have on their site, as well as the team as well that put together Assembly Required, which is happening right now. You might be at Assembly Required. You might be kind of gearing up to eat right now, possibly. I don't know what time it is actually. What, about 3 something? Anyway, hope you guys are having a great time. I'm so annoyed and sad that I couldn't be there to join you guys, and also wanted to shout out R&D Trick as well, who obviously a great friend of mine in the show and everybody's in the community, who passed away, of course. Still hurts, but the Yeti figure from Skeletron memorializes the wonderful R&D Trick in action figure form, and that is actually on sale at the show as we speak. So if you're at the show, you'll be able to get a Yeti while supplies last, of course. It's a great figure, and it reveals some, on the cross-sell on the back, it reveals more figures possibly in the future from the good folks at Skeletron. So shout out to Skeletron. They're, like I said, they're at Codename Iowa, Assembly Required right now. So there you go. Absolutely love this figure, by the way. And oh God, I can't wait to have this in hand. Cannot wait. Rest in peace, brother. Love you so much, man. Also, related to Skeletron, they have sold out of their Roboskull Mark IIs temporarily, I should say. More coming, they've stated, but temporarily for right now, they have sold out of their Roboskull Mark II. So massive shout out, by the way, for that. And also, they've posted another update that the 6-inch figures are shipping. So hot damn. I just want to get the actual full-on information before I start talking about it, because I know I always do this and then I just kind of stumble through it and miss information. So I'm going to try and not miss any information on this one. We'll get there eventually. Bear with me. Yes, so Phase D has begun shipping to Kickstarter backers. Phase D, that sounds gross. Robo Knight heavy metal armor accessory with bonus 4-inch Robonaut kit. 6-inch pilot character kit with bonus 6-inch Robonaut kit, the 6-inch Wolf Trooper, the 6-inch Jaya Wolf, which is a backer kit edition, and the 6-inch Jungle Wolf Trooper, which is another backer kit edition. They said at this time of writing, shipments for this phase have been sent to approximately 1/3 of Kickstarter backers. Please note that backer kit pre-orders will begin shipping after Kickstarter pledges have been shipped, projected to be next week. If you had both a Kickstarter pledge and a backer kit pre-order, your items have been consolidated to ship together with your Kickstarter pledge. As has been the case with previous shipments, your shipping notification may land in your email spam inbox. And you can see their Kickstarter update for the full transmission. go check it out. Very excited to finally get those 6-inch figures. And then I think we're only waiting for Skeletron then? Isn't that's really ironic, isn't it? That the Skeletron figure from the Skeletron company is the 1 6-inch figure we were going to be waiting on. Either way, can't wait to get those 6-inch elements in me, Kitty said. Yeah, Gary as well. Gary Jaye Viper, Gary Goggles, another memorial figure in the same week with Aaron Dietrich as well. Yes, absolutely worth mentioning, Ed, as well. Another well missed friend in the community, and Gary Goggles, Jaye Viper. So yeah, there you go. Skeletron doing the Lord's work, aren't they? Basically, that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on this episode of the Full Force Weekly, presented by Battle Action Force Deluxe Treasury Editions. I will see you on whatever the next one is. If you're a patron of our wonderful show on either the Red Shadow Army or SAS levels, then I will see you tomorrow for the kind of Sunday weekly Q&A that I always do with you guys. And other than that, I should have the HasLab episode news burst going up next week as well. Well, I'll be doing it live, so I'll probably be doing that either Monday or Tuesday, depending on how ridiculously busy and messed up the week is for me. Either way, I will be getting to that at some point in the week, so you can enjoy. Well, you can look forward to that is the word I'm looking for. Yeah, if you're at Codename, if you're assembly required, have a wonderful rest of your weekend and convention. And I miss everyone. Shout out to everyone I know at Codename Assembly Required and at Codename Iowa who run the show. Shout out to Brian Sauer, of course, who does all of our wonderful graphics as well. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay fresh, cheese bags. And as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. I did a burp then. Full force. Later. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.